we have a little band chat on Facebook that we all sit there and talk in.
Okay.
And Rick popped in there and he was like, so, you know, when we go on tour, blah, 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 blah. And I stopped. I was like, wait a minute. Like, when we go on tour, I was like, does that mean you're in the band? And he's like, well, ain't nobody else going to play my shit.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Innersleeve Music Podcast, the podcast taking a behind-the-scenes look at all things music. I'm Cassius Morris. Joe Pacheco joining me on the line. What's going on, Joe?
Doing good, man. Feeling like I like to always quote my one of my favorite Anthrax albums. I feel good to be among the living, you know, after being sick and
good to be among the living
the week before. And like, you know, I don't know if you could see because all of a sudden I'm super glowy bright, but like we've been having incredible weather here in Montreal. Anything from 20 degrees to 30 degrees. I think today is 31, you know, so can't complain. You?
Wow.
How you doing?
It's been amazing. Definitely can't complain about that. I'm feeling good. It's good to see you feeling better. Joe soldiered through the last episode like a champ.
Yeah, man.
He was fueled, like I said, by Dayquil and motivation on that last show. And he definitely killed it. And it's been an awesome lineup of guests here the last couple of weeks right here on Innersleeve. Today, we're honored to be joined by DieHumane. Of course, an awesome group. And they just dropped their brand new record, The Grotesque, which is out everywhere now. And Joe, these guys are, I mean, they're such workhorses when it comes to music. He'd mentioned that in the last couple of weeks, they had done 19 to 20 interviews. I mean, these guys just don't stop.
Yeah, no, man. I hope I you know, like it might not be everybody's cup of tea because this is definitely, I think, like I would say, like almost like an art project, you know, like in the sense of from the visuals, from the sound, because like as you'll see in the interview, we discussed this, like there are sax solos, harmonicas, and the heaviness of this album is like unforgiving, I would say. You know, it's just really like heavy sounding, and the production is killer. So I really hope like that you guys check it out and listen to it and let us know. Always leave us comments and what you thought of it, you know.
And as I mentioned in the interview, the music videos are enough to scar a man's dreams forever. So you guys are probably going to see some clips, if we can even show them on YouTube, Joe. We're going to see what we can do coming up later in the show. YouTuber Latasha Kebe has filed for bankruptcy following a $4 million Cardi B defamation suit. Now, this has been a really sad odyssey for this YouTuber, Joe, whose legal name is Latasha Kebe. She goes by Tasha K, and she filed for bankruptcy 18 months after the judge ruled that she must pay Cardi B more than $3.4 million in defamation. Kebe currently says that she has less than $60,000 in total assets to her name.
This is freaky because when I saw this, I'm like, wow, you know, like Cardi B is going after everyone. She's going after YouTubers and stuff. But, you know, if you dig a little further, you realize I almost agree with Cardi B in the sense that, like, watch what you say, man. Just because you can say it, just because you're on YouTube, and just because you have, I don't know what her following is like. It's kind of like, I'm kind of happy that somebody finally stepped in and said, hey, man, you know, defamation, you know, because like, she was alleging, or whatever it was, she spoke making false claims about prostitution, STDs, drug use in her videos and all that stuff. So it's like, I get freedom of speech and all that, but at a certain point, man, you know, it's like there are limits. People, and you know, she hit Cardi's limits.
You can't make things up. Cardi B tweeting out, "I'ma come for everything," and also adding, "Bitch better have my money."
Wow.
I mean, that's pretty crazy. But look, I mean, Kebe is in serious financial ruin, Joe. Apparently, she's already listed $58,000 of total assets in her name, including her 2021 Chevrolet Silverado. This is like some mafia stuff. She's putting up the house. She's putting up the car.
Look at that. She has $11,000 in other property, including 2 Louis Vuitton purses, and only 95 in her bank account. Which, look, I'm sorry, I hate to see anybody go through any of this stuff, but at the same time, man, you gotta be careful, man. You know, you're messing with the big people, the big guns out there that have this firepower to fire back, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely sad. And, you know, the one thing, Joe, that I think everybody, even if you're not a Cardi B fan, realizes about Cardi B, and she'll probably tell you this herself, is that, you know, she could be petty. You know, she's not going to let things slide. She's going to hold a grudge. She's going to go for it. And look, I mean, when you got a lot of money, a lot of lawyers, and it looks like maybe some time on your hands. I mean, I don't know where the latest Cardi B music is. It looked like she's just been in and out of court the last couple of years. But I think this is what can happen. It is sad though to see somebody who's at such a smaller level. Yeah, she's going to be paying this back for years.
I mean, that's what was my question I was going to ask you. But here it says Thursday's filing. Well, the filing discloses that $10,000 was garnished from her YouTube revenue. So it's like, man, they ain't messing around, man. Like she's gonna come see your granny, man, and ask her for her whatever money that you owe her. But like, this is what I wonder. What happens if you can't pay? Because she's obviously declaring bankruptcies. But like, so what? If you default, I guess stuff like that, like people just lose their money. That's like Cardi B will just get what she can get.
I don't know. I think you just have to pay it slowly. Yeah, I think it never goes away. It's like wow. It's like that amount in credit card debt, I think you just chip away at it. Or I would imagine maybe they lock you up eventually. I don't know. This is where I get in trouble because I don't know the law, but
same here.
Somebody let us know in the comments. A SoundMojo lawyer can let us know from the community.
Yeah, this would be interesting to know because like, I kind of wanted to use this as a warning also to other people, just like, make sure, your facts are your facts, and like, because they will come back. The thing is, you're playing on this almost like we all say, that YouTube and all these social media sort of leveled the playing field to an extent. Yeah. In the sense that you can reach the same audience as Cardi B can, but at the same time, Cardi B has the firepower and the money to, come down hard as we see.
Yeah, she can reach that audience too. And she can also reach you and your bank account. Let us know what you think down below in the comments. A Singaporean singer has had her career hijacked by artificial intelligence. Now, this quote is coming from Stephanie Sun, and she's a singer who's very popular, I guess, in Singapore and different parts of Asia, Joe. She says, quote, "My AI persona is the current hot property." Now, let's sort of break this down. Now, how exactly is AI taking over her career? Because I'm sure people are curious.
Well, apparently she hasn't released anything in the last 6 years or so, and then her voice exploded online. Here, I'm just reading it verbatim. On many major Chinese social media platforms, AI-generated content created under the name Al-Sun Yanzi have attracted a huge following, and this AI-generated voice has released several covers of well-known Chinese pop music, including Jay Chou's Hair Like Snow and another song called, I can't say, Nan Quan Mama's Rainy Day. So it's interesting, man, like, because like a machine can pump out music, in a night, and like you just generate AI music with an AI voice and you can get it uploaded, whereas it would take you time as a writer to sing it, perform it, record it, mix it, and master it, get it on, market it so that someone will hear about it. So this is very scary,
Yeah, and I mean, look, you mentioned she hasn't released music in 6 years. We have this quote here from Sun, who took to social media to speak on this, saying, quote, "My fans have officially switched sides and accepted that I am indeed an unpopular singer, while my AI persona is the current hot property. I mean, really, how do you fight with someone who is putting out new albums every few minutes?" Exactly. And basically, the whole argument for this, Joe, I guess, is that she's taking too long to make music. The fans want the product. And if they can get the product from somebody else, why wait for her to do it? Although some people are coming down on this, saying it's not good enough. One person says, quote, "This sounds fake. It mimics the vocal tone of Sun around 2001. You can mimic her tone, but not her emotions. It can imitate her voice, but not her live performances." But it sounds like this guy's the outlier, though, Joe. It sounds like it's working. Yeah,
that's it, man. And it's how, if someone heard this for the first time, a young person, just heard this for the first time, they wouldn't know the difference. Which one have I heard? I heard the AI first, so that's the one I believe or I associate you with, It's very scary because we all know that all this stuff is out there already. And this is like a Chinese artist, imagine someone like The Weeknd or, we've already saw David Guetta did something with Eminem.
They already have it.
So it's...
Yeah, I mean, Drake and The Weeknd had to take that one song off the internet, and I still see it popping up all the time. I'll watch a TikTok and they'll have this song in the background. And again, Joe, if you're not a Drake fan, you hear that, you think it's him, you know, or whoever the artist may be. It's not, you have to really be trained, I think, to the artist to be able to tell if that specific artist is AI or not.
But the thing is just like when I started recording and doing music, you know, reel-to-reel recording tapes were on their way out, and you're getting digital audio workstations, and the plugins started to emulate the compressors and the EQs. Everybody said, impossible. They'll never get the sound of tubes. They'll never get the sound of whatever.
That's true.
Trust me. And today, you know, for $100, you can buy the sickest guitar plugins that, like, I guarantee you, someone being without whatever will not be able to tell you what you used. So this is only going to get better and harder, and it's going to be so much more hard to tell anything apart, you know?
Better or worse, depending who you are. I think in Sun's case, it's only going to get worse. But listen, I think it takes a lot of courage for her to stand up and speak on this. And this story really is sort of a out of the Twilight Zone. You know, this is really fascinating stuff. So I'm curious to see where this is going to go, but more curious what you guys think. Let us know down below in the comments. Hopping over to the SoundMojo Community tab, of course, this is the spot where we post different polls, different questions to figure out what you guys are listening to. And here we ask Led Zeppelin versus the Beatles. Our audience picked 62% for Led Zeppelin and 38% for the Beatles. You know, I feel like in today's generation, Led Zeppelin may be almost more relevant, Joe, dare I say, because I feel like it's sort of hotter and fresher than the Beatles in terms of sound. I don't know, man, because the Beatles just did that Get Back, right? Like last year, and that was credible, right? So it's just weird. I just think it's an audience thing. And I have to admit, though, the whole time watching this poll, I was like almost grinning because I'm like, I couldn't choose. I honestly, like, I picked Led Zeppelin just because I probably listen to their stuff a lot more than I do the Beatles, because the Beatles is everywhere already. Yeah, I just think it's just the audience just went that way. Interesting. Yeah, the Beatles sort of surpass anything in terms of relevance. I mean, they're always relevant. They always will be relevant in their own way. But Zeppelin's sort of up there too. You know, I almost expected more of a 50-50, but I feel like this is sort of on par with maybe a younger audience as well. Yeah, I have to agree with you, man. Like, it's just weird. Me too. I was expecting literally down the middle, right? Like, I mean, I can't even argue this. If it was the Beatles, I would be for the Beatles too. You know what I mean? Like, there's just such, and it's hard to pin these two artists together, any two artists together per se, but yeah, it's definitely interesting, man. I was definitely like curious to see how this would turn out, and I have to admit I'm surprised. Let's go check out some of the comments. We got some decent comments, 22 of them. So I don't know. There's no name here. It just says 5 days ago. Never seen
the Beatles
that.
were. Yeah, I know, me too. The Beatles were the most diverse musicians. They could write, record rock and roll, popular music, ballads, love songs, classical music, and even country. 100% agreed. And we know that they played for, I think they were doing in Germany for like 3 years, 3 sets a night at clubs and stuff like that. So like these guys were no slouches, no slouchy musicians. They knew their stuff, right? Yeah, 100%. And it's true, no song sounds the same. And not only that, they invented so many different genres and collided genres together that hadn't been done at the time. So definitely. But I mean, like, the same thing could be said with Zeppelin, right? Like, a lot of people think they're heavy metal, which I find always weird. But I understand the heaviness. I've never seen them as metal. Only like a couple songs, like the Immigrant Song is kind of metal-ish, you know, but not as a band. Exactly, but I don't know why they're categorized as heavy metal. But I just thought that was Bonham's Heavy Foot. That's I'm just joking. Yeah, I just thought it was that heavy bass drum, you know. But them too. Like, I mean, look, they did reggae. They've done you know, folk songs as well, right? Like on the third album, I forgot. And then now I'm Battle Forevermore. That kind. No, that's the fourth album. So like blues, like real like blues, real. What I meant is like, you know, more like the Muddy Waters kind of stuff, and then their own version was Stairway to Heaven. So anyways, they too have you know, very diverse, and not many songs sound the same, right? No question. Although about the song remains the same. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, some of them do, some of them don't. Nice one. Monte Mercado says, because it's Zeppelin, nothing more to say. Okay, fair enough. Michael Batista, songwriting innovation. They created the platform. They were not the appropriators like Led Zeppelin. I guess he's talking about the Beatles being his vote. They had a great rhythm section, but it isn't even close. Interesting. It's so funny. I love it when people like, you know, because like these are two people you almost say like, you know, it's like comparing, I don't know, you know, it's I don't know. It's just fine. It's like actually right here, apples and oranges.
Exactly.
Pick your favorite and let us know why in the comments. Hell yeah.
Exactly.
I prefer apples.
Yeah, they're both fairly essential, but we all prefer one.
Yeah. Who have elite axolotl? I don't know.
I can't read that one.
Bro, I thought the Beatles were 100% going to win this vote. Surprisingly not. Exactly. We all were.
Yeah.
Pumpkin. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I agree. I feel like the Beatles, we're used to them winning everything. I think that's why.
Yeah.
So but again, it kind of feels like other bands, especially Zeppelin now, are getting their due. Even bands like Megadeth. Like when we did our Megadeth coverage, I was shocked as to how popular, they sort of still are. But I think that these bands are renewing a new sort of fan base. And again, at that show, even Joe, really young audience. So it's
that's
interesting.
it, right? That's what's happening, man. It's like, I think we're just in the midst of a whole new generation discovering this generation of music,
Yeah.
Through their parents, through popular culture, through movies, because biopics are everywhere. So it's like, this is bound to happen, so definitely longevity for sure. These guys people will be talking about these bands and artists for like we talk about Beethoven, right? Still today.
100%. Wow.
Pump Productions, Beatle. Like this is even a question, the Beatles, sorry. Last of Us. Oh, I like that. That's a cool way to write it. Zeppelin is in the lead. It's ridiculous. Zeppelin in the lead.
It's ridiculous. You don't like it, huh?
We'll go quickly. Leia Crinsint. That's no contest. Led Zeppelin is not even near, so far away from the Fab Four. The question alone is questionable. Well, no, of course not.
The question is questionable. Well, I mean, how are we supposed to figure it out? Yeah, that's right. That's what my teacher told me.
Exactly. Where have you been, Leah? There's no dumb questions. Empire Post Official, the Beatles for me, and it ain't even close. And then somebody had to write the Stones. I knew the Stones was going to come in.
Get out of here. What is with the Stones and the Beatles? That's the comparison I'm sick of.
The Stones outrock the Beatles by 10,000 miles.
Oh, come on.
I can see for miles. No, that's the Who, sorry.
Even the Beatles themselves and the Stones said that they have no rivalry. Like they said that they're great Stones, they're great Beatles,
it's having been in bands and stuff. I don't know, like no one comes up with bands don't come up with rivalries. Fans do. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. Yeah.
Like no one comes up with that stuff,
Well, even Tupac and Biggie, while they were alive, I mean, they hung out and they were friends, to a certain degree. So,
we're not all Dave Mustaines, that got the short end of the stick. Lane Franklin. Oh, I just read that one. Sorry. Oh, look at this. Is this a Mojo? Mojo Joe. That was hard to say.
Joe's burner account.
Yeah, no, Zepp, because I like rock, not pop. You consider the Beatles pop? Yeah.
Some songs, but I mean, it's pop rock.
Helter Skelter is not pop, right? But yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. They got credit for inventing metal, maybe. So.
Yeah, man. Exactly. That's it. It's just interesting, man. All these, especially some of the heavy, you have Iron Butterfly was another heavier band. Yeah. So I know that we all sort of give Black Sabbath, but I mean, there's a couple other people around at the time that were pretty damn heavy,
Yeah, some traces of it.
Yeah, the Show Me Time Felix. The Beatles have the largest variety of music in their catalog. I don't know,
probably.
Man. Like I would say maybe not the largest. That's kind of maybe hard because I mean Zappa has some pretty expansive stuff as well, but definitely large because I mean from Helter Skelter to Let It Be,
definitely
right?
Compared to Zeppelin, they have more.
Yeah, agreed. Tom Skirbo, it's tight. It is.
Yeah.
But not so tight anymore. Maybe he wrote that probably right off the beginning, off the bat.
Yeah, that's true. It was probably 50-50 back then.
And I will not try to Nesundai do Grupi. So that's, I think if I loosely translate that, let me see actually. Let's see what that is. Ah, there you go. Okay. So loosely translated, this means neither group.
No, there you go. Neither group. Okay. And he made sure to comment it twice. He really meant it. So.
Thanks to everyone for commenting. Thanks for all the voting. Definitely interesting. So maybe we, since Led Zeppelin took this one, maybe who should we pin Led Zeppelin up against next?
Maybe, how about Rolling Stones?
That's what I was thinking.
That'd be a good one.
Stay tuned and watch out for that poll coming up soon.
Stay tuned. Here we ask, which 70s funk band has the best groove? Parliament Funkadelic, Tower of Power, Kool and the Gang, or Earth, Wind, and Fire?
Our audience picked 59% for Earth, Wind and Fire, 20% for Parliament, 5% for Tower of Power, and 16% for Kool and the Gang.
Wow. Earth, Wind and Fire, though, of course, Joe, September, they have some hit songs that are at every function, every occasion, every wedding. It makes sense.
That's what I was thinking. Same thing. Like, why this? And not only that, but it's also everywhere on TikTok. It's everywhere on like social and stuff, or the reels and all that stuff. My 10-year-old knows the song, you know, like, so definitely they take the cake. I'm not surprised by that at all. I am surprised by Tower of Power at 5%. But maybe, again, it's like a commercial thing, right? Maybe Parliament just did a bit better. Kool and the Gang, it was also a big name in the 70s, 80s, you know, so.
See, I don't really know Tower of Power. Of Funkadelic and Parliament, I know from doing recent work, George Clinton with Kendrick Lamar, Thundercat. So like the fact that he's still active and stuff, that's the only reason I even am familiar with them.
Yeah, and like, to be honest, like I know a lot of their songs, but not the titles, and I get them confused. Like, it's almost like Parliament and Tower of Power to me are almost like sort of confused together in my brain, you know? I want to be able to differentiate them. You know, if I just heard a song and you told me which one is playing this, I don't think I could win that contest.
Fair enough. Let us know what you think down below in the comments. Now it's time to hop into our interview portion of the show. It was awesome to be joined by the guys from DieHumane talking about their brand new project, The Grotesque, which is out everywhere now. And if you want to connect with the guys and listen to the brand new project, we have all the links you need down below in the description. Joe, these guys were awesome and definitely true blue rock and roll metalheads.
Yeah, I love when Rick at one point says he had to almost like figure out a way to play to fit the music. And that's key, because a lot of guitar players or a lot of musicians will just think, well, they asked me to join this band, so I'll do what I do. But no, play for the song, play for the music, change to the point where even his tonal settings on his amps change because the music calls for something different, you know?
100%. It was an awesome chat, awesome conversation. We hope you guys enjoy it, and we'll catch you guys right afterwards. All right, well, shout out to Rick and Josh from DieHumane. Now you guys got me mixing. Joe's got me mixing it up over here. From DieHumane, all one word. Gentlemen, we appreciate you taking the time to come check in with us. Talking about the new album. Yeah, 100%. Talking about the new album, The Grotesque, which is out now. Talk to us about this record, because it's obviously it's a masterpiece, if you ask me.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. We do a really, really good job on that album, duping people into thinking that we know what we're doing.
Yeah, basically, we're good at faking it, man.
Isn't that all of us?
Yeah, we hired a bunch of people that know what they're doing, so.
That'll help. So how long was the production process for this record when we're talking about actual, you know, from conception to what we have now?
It was about 2 years. We started writing the songs at the tail end of 2020. And then I think we wrapped recording February 2021. No, 2022.
2022, yep.
February 2022. Because the last thing we recorded was we went to LA to Ulrich Wild's studio and I recorded Rick's leads. And yeah, that was February 2022. So yeah, we wrapped recording about then. And then it was about a year almost of post-production. And then we started dropping singles in January.
That's awesome. So in terms of the whole process, maybe walk us through how this was actually recorded. Was this, all obviously, you mentioned the solos being tracked. So I would assume it wasn't live off the floor kind of thing. No,
it was not. Basically, most of the album was recorded actually in my house or my former residence in Galveston. It started with just me kind of writing, music here and there, just as a way to kind of get through the pandemic. Because I worked in the film industry for years, And that came as a kind of like a standstill when the pandemic hit. I had just ended a relationship that I'd been in for 4 years. So it was also the first time I'd lived kind of by myself in years and years and years. So the past time I started recording music, when it kind of started turning into a thing, I recruited Greg, who's the keyboard player, one of my best friends in the world. And then him and I just started writing songs. And eventually we hit up Garrett, the singer, who's another really good friend of mine that I've known for years. We got him doing vocals on it. And then I showed it to another friend of mine, Steve Esquivel from the band Skin Lab. And then he essentially took it and brought it to Rick's attention. And
Nice.
then we spent months convincing Rick to join the band.
Is that true?
That long.
And eventually
Wasn't that
we
long?
rolled him down.
No,
So what was your initial reaction, Rick, when this was brought to you?
Oh, so yeah, okay. So like Josh said, Steve, a dear friend of mine who I've grown up for in the East Bay of California for many, many years, gives me a call and says, hey, I got these guys writing this crazy music in Texas that are looking for a bluesy, more bluesy guitar player as opposed to like a shredder guy. And I'm like, well, yeah, and then at that time I wasn't really looking to be in a band or because I was so absorbed with what's going on with my family and everything. So so I said, so if Steve Esquivel says, this is good music, I trust his opinion. So I was, if Steve said this is going to be good, I'm going to check it out. Right. So I checked it out. I think the first song that I ever heard from DieHumane was Ghosts, and then Skeletons. And I put on Ghosts. And the first thing that really hit with me was how it was just, the chorus was just absolutely humongous. And this is, mind you, way before mix and way before. It was really rough, and it was still huge. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think wasn't that before even Sal got on it, Josh?
Yeah. You came before. Sal was the last person to join the band.
Yeah, so this is even before real drums were on it. And I was like,
wow.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, this is huge, and I was so, I come from a thrash background, so it's like when I'm listening to Ghost for the first time, I'm trying to picture myself what I would play over it, and I was like, wow, this is really, really interesting. I mean, it opens so many gates and so many doors for me as a guitar player to express myself in such a different way than I was, than I'm used to over the last 30 years of my career, So so time, they kept sending more cuts. All the while, I'm listening, and I just honestly, dude, I just fell in love with the music and got to know the guys, and each and every one of these guys is brilliant. Not, and just a sweetheart of a human being. And so I committed. I sat down with my kids. I played them the songs. I said, look, I have an opportunity here to record this album and maybe actually like do some shows and join this band. What do you guys think? And they were like, Dad, you got to do it, because they love the music. And I'm like, next day I called Josh. I said, dude, I'm in. That's it.
Actually, I want to interject here, because the way he let us know that he was in is actually way more hilarious than that. He had mentioned something, because we have a little band chat on Facebook that we all sit there and talk in.
Okay.
And Rick popped in there and he was like, so, when we go on tour, blah, 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 blah. And I stopped. I was like, wait a minute. Like, when we go on tour, I was like, does that mean you're in the band? And he's like, well, ain't nobody else going to play my shit.
Take that as a yes.
Yeah, that was when I found out Rick was in the band.
Yeah.
That's awesome, so funny. Man, I love that. So Rick, are you located in Texas, or were you out of state?
No, I'm in Northern California, up in the mountains. I was born and raised in Berkeley, California, and got the hell out of the jungle about probably about 11, 12 years ago.
Okay. So how was that for recording the project? Was that like, a challenge? Did you go up to Texas or vice versa a lot?
I've been to Texas a couple, two or three times so far. I did all my tracks in the studio in LA. I had Josh come meet me there, which was a huge help. Because we just, Josh is the main songwriter, so he's like he basically when I got to the studio at Ulrich's, there wasn't even a place for lead guitars, really. I mean, Josh had it in his brain, right? But what the music that I had, I didn't even know where the solos were going to be at, really. So Josh being there was a huge help, you know, and the vibe that they created, him and Ulrich in the studio, was just a great place to create. So awesome.
Interesting. When we got this came in our, we got emails, and we saw DieHumane, and then I'm like listening to Grotesque, and I'm thinking that's appropriately titled because it sounds grotesquely huge, this album. You know what I mean? Like dirty, raw, huge. I love it. And then it's like, I'm looking at, I see Ulrich Wild. I'm like, okay, makes a lot of freaking sense now,
Yeah, no doubt.
So like, how did that hook up? Yeah, how did you guys hook up with him, or is he an old time friend, or?
Well, Ulrich came our way because of Steve Esquivel. It's weird how Steve Esquivel's almost like this weird ghostly, almost like, in the background member of the band early on, because he made a lot of stuff happen. He put us in touch with Ulrich. I've actually got a lot of mutual friends with Ulrich, and he sent Ulrich the music, and then Ulrich called me one day saying that he was interested in producing it, and to be quite honest, man, as far as like choices for producers, we had 3 in mind for this album, and that was Ulrich Wild, and Ulrich Wild.
Pretty diverse list.
So we nailed it on the first try,
Yeah.
So it was pretty much best case scenario. And yeah, Ulrich's amazing. He's absolutely brilliant. Like that guy is some next level, studio genius. And it helps that he's also a really, really, really cool and really nice guy.
Yeah.
And he's very artist friendly. At no point in time is he going to stop us and be like, actually, we need to make it sound more like this because that's what popular nowadays. He was all on board with, let's do something completely different and try to develop our own sound here. So he was absolutely perfect. He was a godsend.
And this music, honestly, is not easy to mix. There's so much going on. There's so many layers. I know for a fact that Ulrich sat in that room for at least it must have been 1,000 hours in that room, trying to mix this music. And not only did he have to mix all of these layers perfectly, he had to make each individual in the band happy. And that in its own right, because you know how we are. It's like, so we're throwing back and forth files after, okay, check this mix out. And then, of course, well, the snare drum's not loud enough. And the bass
needs more cowbell.
Yeah, exactly.
And the guitars are low. And, so he's not only has to mix his music right, he's got to make us all happy. And that's like, wow.
That's a feet.
That's crazy.
I was gonna say that's what I call more me syndrome, right? Like when you're listening to it, you're like more me, more bass, more this.
Well, it is kind of like that. But and honestly, in this situation right here, I think everybody is way more band oriented. You know what I mean? It's all about the song. You know what I'm saying? It's all about the song. So there was times where honestly, I'm going to be honest that I would have liked to have my guitar a little louder, but you know what? It's just about the song, you know what I mean? So sometimes you have to give, you have to take. It's a team thing, right? So
does it have to be that way for it to work?
Sometimes, absolutely, yes, it does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's especially with our music, it's really weird because there are some things we did that in the realm of mixing is kind of unorthodox. Because with typically when you mix an album, you want everything nice and pretty and cohesive and stuff like that. Well, there's parts of our songs where rather than let's build up to something, but like there's parts like in Crossroads and Oblivion to where it'll build up like it's building up to something, and then it just completely collapses, and it's just wall-to-wall chaos, and everything's kind of mixed together just to kind of make this really just psychotic wall of sound, which that's kind of it sounds like it wouldn't be a hard thing to pull off, but to do it and make it good, it is.
It's man, that's probably the hardest part. The the last part in Oblivion, that the heavy part with the lead right there. I mean, and to get like, and even with Garrett's vocals in there, the screams, and to get all that stuff mixed is like, it's a big deal, man. It's super hard. You would never think it would be that hard, but it's super hard.
I love how you guys are so like still excited about it, considering you've been like working on it for so long, you know?
It's fun, you know, that's honest to God. That's the number one reason that we do it, is because it's fun, you know.
You really love it.
Yeah. We all have other stuff that we do. Greg and I run a business, you know, Garrett's a teacher. So, I mean, it's not really like a money or business driven project. It's genuinely something we wanted to do, and it's something we wanted to create.
Right.
And I think when it's that at the core, when the core of it is always, we just really want to make some good music. It's truth be told, it's a lot easier to make good music, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's going back to Ulrich, like the fact that like it's so diverse and so like you said, so many different layers. It's almost like you're watching a movie. You know, there's scenes coming in and out. You know, and it's like, and then there's 17 songs on this album, right? So it's like you got to make them all just work. You know, so it's like, man, people take it for granted. They listen to, oh, this sucks, or oh, this whatever. They don't realize like the amount of work that went into it, right?
Yeah, and I'm gonna give Josh a shout out on this one. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, the interludes in between songs, right? You know, the little those in the beginning were like intros to each song that they're attached to, right? But Josh, and we went back and forth on this because people don't realize how important that song, in song order on an album is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So and from like when you have 17 songs with all these interludes, the songs really have to work together, you know, all the way through. And Josh absolutely nailed it. I was like, in the beginning, I was like, man, I don't know if we should put like open the album with King of Nothing and then right into Shell Shock. You know what I mean? Because it's two of the heavier songs right off the top, you know, and people might lose interest in the middle. You know what I'm saying? But actually what that did, I think, in my opinion, it brought the heavy crowd in, you know what I mean? And made them interested in maybe hanging around for the rest of it, right?
It pulled them in.
It pulled them in. And it, man, if you listen to it from front to back, especially with headphones on, it's like a ride, bro. It's serious.
That was the goal. The initial conception of it was to make an album. It was never really just, let's make a collection of songs. It was always to make an album, something that takes you on a ride, something that starts somewhere and then ends somewhere.
Yeah.
And artistically, my personal goal for that album, given the time frame that it was written and everything that was happening in the world at the time, was I wanted to write an album that sounded like a complete and total just mental collapse. Like you start off with chaos and then you go further into the pit and then further into the pit and then slowly but surely start coming out of it, you know?
Right.
Where you end with Stardust Blues, which is my favorite song on the album. And if you listen to Stardust, it's actually the only song on that album that I would consider it's a happy song, you know?
Right. Was that hard to balance with making the track list? Because it has to be such a cohesive story and really be laid out in a certain way.
I mean, not really, man. When you're super fired up and you're inspired about something, all the artistic stuff was almost second nature. You know, it was that to me, that was a part of it that was easy.
Interesting.
I come from a film background, so I mean, to me, it was almost like making an audio film. Like the fundamentals were the same. You have story beats almost. It's not a concept album, but you have story beats, you have, you know, where you start, where you end, and how you gradually get there and stuff like that, just translated from visuals to audio.
Over the last two days, I've probably done 18 or 19 interviews. And I swear to God, almost every one of them said that listening to this album is like watching a movie, you know?
Wow.
So, yeah, and
it's insane.
It's true. So we need to get Des fired up on getting this music in some movies here.
Yeah, seriously, right? Have the whole Netflix film to accompany this here.
Yeah,
You know, speaking of the visuals, the music video for Crossroads has been haunting me for the last couple of days here now.
Sorry about that, man.
I wake up in the middle of the night sweating. Talk to us about those visuals, man, because those are really something.
Well, I mean, again, I come from a film background. That's my number one love is film. I knew with the music videos, we didn't really, and at times much to some of the people behind the scenes, irritation. With the music videos, we always wanted to approach it a different way. We always wanted to approach the music videos from a more cinematic standpoint. No disrespect to these kind of music videos, but we didn't just want to get in a warehouse and just rock it with a bunch of Marshalls,
Yeah.
So basically with the music videos, the idea was always a really abstract representation about that particular song in question. And Crossroads is about, at the end of the day, unhealthy coping mechanisms and dealing with that and then moving past that. So, I mean, everything in that video is represents that essentially. That's why you have, the guy in the trailer, then you have the other guy shows up and sets it on fire and burns it and all this stuff. And the juxtaposition of the song, of the sign that the pills didn't work, and then the sign that's I feel fine.
I'm having flashbacks as we speak.
So we always try to approach the music videos from an artistic standpoint and try to make it more a part of the overall process or the overall art, rather than just a commercial to sell our albums, Yeah.
Is it, do you visually already see it as you're writing, recording, or as the thing is growing on you? Do you already say, oh, I'm going to do this?
Yes.
Yeah. I wish I was like that.
The Crossroads video I already had in mind.
Awesome. I wish I was like you. Where it's like, I know what
it's like why you know not what you ask.
Exactly.
I see when I wake up in the morning.
If you've been following our Facebook for the last year and all the photo shoots of the band and the single album covers and all the artwork, there's an aesthetic to the whole project. You know what I mean? That kind of like is really, really cohesive. I've been trying to name what that aesthetic is or what it looks like. I cannot for the life of me figure out a word to match it. But if you come up with one, let me know.
Oh, it's DieHumane, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Well, I know with the visuals, a lot of the influence that I pulled from were filmmakers like David Lynch. I'm a big fan of his. Jean-Luc Godard. He was a post World War II French filmmaker, and he pretty much grew his reputation on doing things that you weren't supposed to do. Like he'll have a scene of dialogue where he'll keep the camera on one person and he'll make several cuts without changing the camera angles. He'll just cut, as he put it, trim the fat. So like if there's like a space in between two sentences, he'll cut that space out and things like that. And he really kind of let his imagery do the talking, and he really kind of let his imagery tell the story of the video. Wow. And to me, with DieHumane, that was kind of, in my opinion, the appropriate place to take it when it came to the visuals, was keep it really artistic, let the visuals tell the story, try not to put too much of a narrative in there, and essentially trigger a feeling, kind of like with the music.
Yeah, and we're gonna take that whole aesthetic and we're gonna take that to the stage too.
Yeah, we're gonna bring it on stage with us,
That's incredible. And, we've seen here, Josh, that you've done, all types of video work. As you've mentioned, you've worked with, the likes of David Vincent Downs, Soil, Leonard Cohen. Just curious,
shout out to my boy David Vincent from Morbid Angel.
That's right. Shout out to him for sure. Shout out to the group as well. Maybe if there's anything you could share to us real quick about, that end of it. And obviously you talked about, how you bring that into DieHumane.
Well, the music video stuff, that was my bread and butter for years. I've shot well over 100 music videos. Some of them are fun, some of them are not. Just, that's the nature of the beast there. But the ones to me that were always fun was where we were allowed to be artistic. Like case in point with the David Vincent video, he had hit me up and he's like, "Hey, would you be interested in doing music videos for my country project?" Which I've been a Morbid Angel fan since, I was 12 years old and saw him on Beavis and Butthead.
Wow.
So for him to hit me up for a project of his that wasn't metal, that was country, that to me, that was really exciting artistically, because it's like, this is a challenge. We got to win over the metalheads with your country stuff. And he pretty much just kind of let me go crazy with it. He let me conceptualize it. He did not get in my way at all while we were shooting. He just let me do my thing. We actually rented out this old Texas ghost town out in Manor, Texas. And we, at least me and the production crew, we stayed the night there. It was really cool.
Wow.
We kind of caught the vibe. And then the next day we spent 10 hours shooting 2 music videos in it, and it was an absolute blast. So to me, that was really inspiring, doing a country video for such a prolific figure in the world of death metal. That's the kind of stuff I like, where you get to take a sudden left turn, or you get to do something completely different. That's to me, with as much time as this stuff takes, whether it's recording an album or shooting a video or whatever, to me, it's always way more worth it when you can do something that's, not just a dime a dozen. A lot of, and I'm not trying to speak ill of anybody or anything, but a lot of music videos you see, you'll watch it and it almost feels like, wow, I'm watching a music video that these guys feel like they had to make.
Right.
Like
Low hanging fruit, right?
The obligatory part of the process, rather than, a piece of the puzzle.
It's interesting because it's like this is that expression of how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So like your music is just as diverse and interesting as the visuals are, right? So it had to be that way, right? One thing was freaked me out when I was listening to it. I was like, and it took me a while because it's subconscious. It's in the background. I'm like, wait a minute, is that a sax solo in one of these like super heavy songs? I've never heard a sax solo in this kind of stuff, So
there's saxophone in every song.
Yeah, that's what I started to notice.
It's violin in every song. It's a really underutilized instrument in heavy music.
Yeah,
that's
amazing. How did that come about? Was that already something you already knew, or let's try a sax solo?
Yeah, it was all part of the overall vision from day one. It's like, we're gonna have saxophone, we're gonna have violin, occasionally harmonicas. I mean, it just, there was a lot of weird little rules written early on. Having sax and violin was a big part of it. Not leaning on power chords or palm muted riffs was a big part of it, because there's actually a filmmaker. There's actually a Dutch filmmaker named Lars von Trier, who I'm a big fan of his work. And part of what he does when he makes a film is he looks at things that films typically things that you typically can't make a film without, and he'll take that away. Like he did a film called Dogville with Nicole Kidman, where he said, we're going to make this movie that takes place during World War II, but we're going to completely remove sets. We're going to shoot the whole damn thing on a stage, and there's going to be no sets. Wow. And typically that sounds like it wouldn't work on paper. But then once you see how he approached it, it's freaking brilliant. Or like back in the 90s, he's like, we're going to shoot this movie, but we're going to shoot it on VHS, like on a handheld camcorder, which technically, shouldn't work. But the way he did it, it works.
In a backwards way, it works. Yeah.
Right. And with this album, that was something early on. I was like, in heavy music, it's almost a staple to have power chords all over the place and palm muted riffs. So we're going to take that away and then have to figure out a different way to be heavy.
See, it's funny because now that you said that, I never paid attention. I didn't notice that shit was missing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's good because
that's a good thing. Yeah.
You never.
When I first joined the band, that was and started learning this music because I come from the land of the muted riff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my whole genre is like. And then I'm like, I'm trying to replicate the guitar sounds on this music, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's something going on that's I'm not doing right. So, and I finally figured it out that it's not the palm, it's not muted, and I'm like, oh my god. So I had to that was an obstacle for me for sure. It took me a while to get it, but once you do get it, man, it honestly, it makes the guitar sound bigger if in this setting. if you don't mute, because you're just banging chords without the mute, so they're ringing out big. You know what I mean? So it's a difference. It took me a minute to get that down.
Did you have to change like your traditional setup? I'm not sure what your setup is like.
Oh yeah. I cut down the distortion. Well, we tuned drop B and drop C, so Exodus never tuned that low. So I had to get way bigger strings, so you keep that definition, and turn down the distortion a bunch because you want the notes to ring out. You know what I mean? And if you're tuned so low, and there's so much overdrive, everything turns into this fuzz. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you had to dial everything back a little bit and add some mid, because we're not scooped really. Just little nuances and stuff, but a lot of it's just the same, except for the palm mutes.
Yeah, one major difference for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you guys mentioned tour as well. Is there a tour in the works, or is that yet to be announced kind of thing?
We're working on it.
As far as touring goes, we're kind of mapping that out right now. We're trying to figure out what's the best way to approach it. There's a lot of weird things kind of going on as far as touring at the moment. Like, the world of touring in itself is kind of weird right now. And the thing is when we play live, we want to make sure we're given something unique there. Like we want the live show to be a part of the overall aesthetic, a part of the art itself. And then not to mention the fact that our music is so layered that, it takes a lot of rehearsal and a lot of practicing and stuff like that to be able to pull it off live. Because I think the one thing we don't want to do is show up to play live and then have it just be like a sloppy version of the album, or we're showing up with just a couple of us and then we're relying on 50 backing tracks. Because, no offense to anybody that uses backing tracks, I totally get it. But to me, the fun would be seeing all these layers come to life live. Like you see the sax player up there, you see the violin player up there, and Rick's, freaking ripping solos, and we're all up there kind of doing our thing. Because the live music world is so convoluted right now. It's almost like I live in Houston, and it's almost like 2 or 3 times a week there's some massive show coming through. Like I found out just a few days ago that The Cure was here, which I would have loved to have seen.
Yeah,
but it was there's just so many shows blowing through that you lose track, and some of them slip through the cracks and stuff like that. So we're really just kind of mapping out what the best thing would be. I know that a live stream is a big thing we're gonna do at some point in time. Nice. But we're trying to figure out, should we start off doing one-off shows here, go to this city, go to that city, or, should we just do like a 1-week run and then come home and then do another 1-week run? Should we just do festivals? No, we have a lot of options on the table that we're trying to mull over and figure out what's the best way to actually approach it, rather than just, slapping some stuff together and running out there so we can make a buck, When we all pass away, nobody's going to be, eulogizing us saying, wow, they sure did make a lot of money on that one tour. Right.
Exactly. That's a phenomenal way to put it, man. Well, listen, Rick, Josh, we really appreciate you guys' time. The new album, The Grotesque, is out now. We encourage everybody to go and check it out. And of course, we'll drop the links so they can connect with you guys down below. Rock and roll.
Thank y'all so much, man. I really appreciate y'all's time, and thank y'all for having us on.
No, our pleasure.
100%, man.
Thanks for having us. Hey, keep in touch, you guys.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. 100%. You too. Take care, guys. Rock on.
All right, y'all have a good one.
Shout out to the guys from DieHumane for joining us on episode number 121 of the Innersleeve Music Podcast. Like we said, guys, this was a really cool project when it comes to The Grotesque. It was art, it was music, it was metal, it was all different genres. And as they said, a hidden saxophone part in every song, Joe. That's impressive to me.
Yeah, and I was listening to it back again yesterday, and I'm like, man, this harmonica is almost as prevalent as like rhythm guitars are in the song, you know? So it makes for like interesting, because the last time I heard metal, harmonica metal was Sabbath, right? Like at the beginning of the album and stuff, you know? So it's like, it's cool. And then there's even synths and stuff. So definitely, man, the crossing of the genres, man, is definitely, in full swing. But like the dynamics too of the music, right? It's like super hits you, super powerful, and then like also just like lets you relax a bit, you know. So I love the visuals, like as Josh said, who's shot maybe hundreds of videos, he said, right, and films. It's a curse in the sense, because like I always I wish I knew exactly what I wanted visually. Like I kind of do, it's just hard to get it to happen, you know. And it's like, and you have a guy who can make that storytelling with just the images, you know, that like makes me so jealous.
It's insane, man. And the people he got to work with too. I mean, you know, Leonard Cohen, all these different guys, it's unbelievable. So shout out to both of them, man, for taking the time to come and join us. And shout out to you for watching this brand new episode of the Innersleeve Music Podcast. Again, if you want to connect with our guests, make sure to go hit those links down below in the YouTube description. And of course, while you're there, hit that subscribe button with the notification bell to get notified anytime SoundMojo puts up a video. Also, make sure to hit our social media accounts at SoundMojo. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Make sure to come drop us a line. We'll respond to your comments. We'll retweet. We'll like, repost, whatever you guys got. We always love to hear from you guys, even on YouTube, on the community tab, or in our comment section. We always go to answer, and we always enjoy seeing you guys' feedback. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this brand new episode of the Innersleeve Music Podcast. We'll catch you guys next time.